Well, hi, welcome back to another one of my videos. If you're new here, I'm Maddie. I make videos every week about minimalism and slow living. This week is my first ever Q&A. It's gonna be a little different for me to film a video like this, so off the cuff, and talking about stuff that I don't typically talk about on this channel. Also, just thank you so much for subscribing and all of you being so supportive of me and my work here. I just genuinely appreciate it, and I feel like I don't really get to tell you that in my videos. Okay, so let's start off with minimalism. Although I just want to say straight up, like I just don't have it all figured out. I mean, I think you know that, and it's so nice of you guys to ask me these questions, but like I am just not fit to answer some of this stuff. I can tell you my opinion and like the stuff that works for me, but obviously you do what works for you. If I say something or I'm doing something that you're like, no, that doesn't seem right, I think more people need to do that. Just like look at things through their own filter instead of seeing some person online doing it some way and then just following suit or stepping onto some crazy fad. I'm just a mom that happens to have a camera. You know that. I just feel like I need to give a disclaimer and say that. Let's get started. The Clarks ask, was your husband willing to explore the minimalist mindset? Advice, I just blew a spit bubble. That was gross. Advice on sharing a household when one spouse declutters and the other doesn't feel the same intentions. How to find balance so both feel comfortable in their own home. So, to answer your first question, my husband was not as keen on minimalism as I was right at the start. We got married young and we moved a lot. Someone else asked for like a little background on me. I think I discovered Joshua Becker's book. That's initially what got me interested in minimalism. And I think also the Minimalist podcast. I might have watched their documentary or something on Netflix. And we had been moving so much. We'd been married, I think, 3 years at that point and had moved 4 times. And boxing up your stuff makes you confront your stuff. I think that accumulation is a lot easier when you just buy a home and stay in it. For us, realizing that like we had boxed up certain items 2 or 3 times now and had never even used them. So when I started discovering minimalism, I was just really excited about decluttering right out the gate. And I think my husband perceived it more as like a loss of money. Like he was interested in minimalism, I would say, strictly from a financial position. The short answer to that question is just that he was slower to get on board. And looking back, I definitely messed up by sneaking around when he was at work and like decluttering his underwear drawer or whatever, and we would fight about that, and that didn't help anything. Let me just tell you, like, don't touch other people's stuff. Don't be that person in church that's just like elbowing the person next to you when you hear a good Bible verse. Hear it for yourself and just apply it and let your spouse see you changing and the benefits that all of this is having on you and your life. Just because decluttering is easier for me doesn't mean that like I'm more of a minimalist, because I would say he's definitely better at being an intentional purchaser and I'm just better at letting go. Keep in mind that the reason we hang on to stuff is not usually logical or practical. It's very emotional. Give yourself and your spouse grace as you're going through that process. It's hard. There's a lot of angles to, I think, enter minimalism from. And one of those is finances. He saw me spending less money and was like, what's up? This is amazing. Like, what's going on here? Why are you not spending $100 at Target every week anymore? He also saw value in us, or he saw me throwing away things as us throwing away money. So I think you have to just like go through these difficult conversations, and it's a hard process. Like there's no way around it. I don't think confronting our stuff is just hard, and if you can just remember to try and respect your spouse as much as possible in the process. That's what I wish I would have done in retrospect when I first discovered minimalism and realized that it was stupid how much stuff we had been moving to 4 different houses with in 3 years of marriage that we had never even used off our wedding registry. He came home from work one day and I was just like, it's like, wow, the house looks nice. Where is everything? That's not how you want to do it. learn from my mistakes, respect your spouse, because ultimately I think minimalism is about stepping away from our things and turning more towards the people that we love. That it's actually the people that we're realizing are more important than all the things that we've been managing and spending our time with. But that's my answer to that. I hope that that helps kind of us get onto another minimalism question. How do you feel about a slow and peaceful life in today's hustle culture? Do you ever feel like you're lacking behind? For example, what do you think about having an average job to be with your husband and children more? So, first of all, how do I feel about having a slow and peaceful life in today's hustle culture? I feel great. I should make a video about hustle culture because I know what you're talking about. But to be clear, like, I don't think hustling is wrong. I think there's this like idea about slow living that you're just gonna like have nothing to do all day. You're just gonna like paint and for me at least, slow living is not just having absolutely nothing to do and sitting on my couch with it raining outside and painting. I like to feel like I'm fulfilling my life's purpose. I like to have my hands dirty in projects. I like to learn new skills. I think Cal Newport calls it high quality leisure. So things like gardening. I mean, it's gonna be different for you, but for me, it's things like gardening and baking sourdough bread and learning how to surf and like keeping chickens. A lot of days I do feel like, I'm tired. I was busy today, you know? So it's not just like we're just gonna sit in the bath and paint and read books all day, which it's fine if you wanna do that. Just for me, that would get old after a couple days. Just slow living looks different to me. Slow living to me is just not keeping up with the Joneses and being engaged with like more high quality activities and leisure that connect me with who I am, like what my values are and what's really important to me here in life, and not just doing things for the sake of doing things, or because, you know, when your kid turns a certain age, you sign them up for t-ball, whether or not they actually want to do that, and then now your life becomes schlepping your kids to t-ball every week, and I could just go on and on. Let me try to stay on track. Do I ever feel like I'm lacking behind? Yes, I do. I don't know if there's like a better, if that's a good way to answer that or not, but I do sometimes feel like I'm missing out. I'm an Enneagram 7, and I feel like that's a pretty common 7 thing. And so especially as I like grow into kind of like learning contentment and being okay with a more simple way of life, I definitely get flare-ups of like, my kids are getting older and my time with them is like depleting and I want to do like 1,400 other things. Just mom guilt of, I hope I'm making the right choices for my kids. Like, I don't have all this figured out, and that definitely comes up. So I don't want to sit here and act like I have just sunshine and roses all the time. Definitely not. Like, my life is still hard and stressful at times, but for me, letting go of what the world says I should spend my time doing or what my kids should spend their time doing, and just living more connected with my own values, to me is a more rich and fulfilling life. But to answer your question about what do you think about having an average job with your husband, to be with your husband and children more? Definitely don't spend your life doing something you don't want to do. I'm just not into wasting your days as if you have them to waste. If you're living within your means and within your values, and you're respecting people well, you're growing in your relationship with God, like I definitely am just a believer that it will work out. Oh, this is a good one. Samantha Goodall asked a few great questions, but as far as minimalism goes, what were you like before minimalism, before your minimalism journey started? And then a few other questions that I'll get to later. So before minimalism, gosh, I wish I could show you guys our wedding registry. Oh, maybe I'll insert some wedding photos here and you can just see. I feel like you can see. So I would say that, like, personality wise, I'm the same. But if you could see my closet and our wedding registry, and girl, even just my engagement ring. Someone asked me this recently, like, what's up with why don't you wear an engagement ring? My husband bought me a beautiful engagement ring, but it wasn't enough. When we got married, I also had a diamond wedding band that needed to match the engagement ring. I don't know. It's just what you do. And then when you move out and you have your own place, it just becomes like, now your whole home becomes a stage for you to just fill and then you get married, and I mean, creating this hoard essentially to like live your best life. The more stuff I accumulated, the more weighed down I felt. Not having Instagram and embracing minimalism, it's just so freeing. I can't even tell you. But as far as like me before minimalism, I don't think much has changed other than just maybe my wardrobe, and I don't get my hair bleached anymore. My house looks a lot different. I also don't get eyelash extensions. Just so many things that, if there's nothing wrong with that stuff, if you do that stuff, please don't hear that. It's just, for me, became like, why am I doing this? I'm just doing this to fit some standard that I don't even, like, I'm good. I don't need that stuff. So just a realization that I was getting my identity too much from making my house look a certain way and dressing a certain way, and it was not fun. It left me feeling very anxious and overwhelmed all the time. Oh, here's one about capsule wardrobing. Would love to see, Katie Brooks asked, would love to see and hear what your thoughts are about your 10-item wardrobe. How's it changed? Maybe a whole wardrobe tour. That's a great idea, Katie. I should do a new wardrobe tour of my 10-item wardrobe. How often do you buy? Do you try to stick to a certain total amount, etc.? Yeah, totally. I definitely still a 10-item wardrobe. I need to actually do a declutter, because since moving here, I've somehow accumulated a few more things. And then when that happens, I always just do the one in, one out rule. And so I'm looking at my closet right now, and it's a mess, and it needs to get decluttered. I definitely still stick to the 10-item wardrobe. I'm in a little bit of a different climate here in Hawaii. I do want to show you guys how it's changed, because I don't think I own anything, maybe a couple things, but I just wear out clothes so fast here in Hawaii. I just get them dirty, and I'm gardening, and I have this new thing now that I want to try out wearing my nice clothes, because I've noticed lately that I have this thing in my head of like, when I'm at home, I don't want to like ruin my nice clothes. And I've just been thinking about that, and like, I don't even have nice clothes. I don't know what that is in my head, but I want to start wearing my nice clothes. That video will be coming soon. In general, I just try to stick to the one in, one out rule, and I only buy when something's worn out or needs to be replaced. Random but tips for toilet training as a minimalist. I am not a parenting expert, but I've shared in a couple of videos that I'm a big fan of like conscious, respectful parenting. So Janet Lansbury has a couple different books. Essentially, I don't really do potty training, and I definitely don't buy all the gimmicky charts and all of that stuff. But yeah, go check out Janet Lansbury if you're interested in like parenting and you have toddlers and you're going through that whole like potty training season. Go check out Janet Lansbury though. I love her work so much. Are you still living in the house that you showed the tour of, or did y'all move to a different one in Hawaii? Also, what's your best piece of, good question. What's the best piece of advice you've ever given? Given as I'd be received. I don't know if I give good advice, Kristen. Girl, I'm new to your channel, but I love it. Kristen, thank you. It's so nice. No, we are not living in the same house that I did the tour of. The house was amazing. We just stayed in the house for a month until we moved into this house. This house is actually owned by a friend of ours. They're traveling for a year with their kids, doing like a super cool road trip through the continental United States. And so it just worked out timing-wise that we could rent their house. I mean, maybe I'll just move right into like the Hawaii questions, but this has been a dream of mine since I was a little girl. I came here to Maui when I was 14. Something is just magical about this place, and I have dreamed and fantasized about it ever since. So yeah, it's just been on my goal list just to spend 6 months to a year here at least once in my life, and things just kind of worked out for us to do it. Even for us, like if we hadn't embraced minimalism and like changed our relationship with our stuff, we would have never done this. Like, I can't even emphasize that enough. We would have never ever even considered moving had we not embraced minimalism. I don't know what the future holds. We're just trying to diligently take it day by day and give each day our best effort and follow God as closely as we can. Christina Torsen, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Congratulations. How did you and your husband move to Maui? Did you save up, or is he working along with you? Are you working on YouTube, you guys? I made like $200 last month from YouTube, so YouTube ain't paying the bills. But I do love YouTube, and I'm super excited for this year on YouTube. I'm so passionate about making videos and sharing this content with you and the world. Thank you so much for being part of it. Anyways, how did we move to Maui? Minimalism and Dave Ramsey is how we moved to Maui. Did you save up, or is he working there alone? Yes, we saved up. My husband worked 2 jobs last year, and we just saved it all. And we thought we would maybe buy a house. We still are kind of feeling that desire at this point to figure out where we want to buy a house, and that is partly what this is like us deciding if Hawaii or San Diego is where we want to invest in our first home. I would say that being debt-free and following Dave Ramsey's baby steps has led us to this point. We're on baby step 3B at this point, if you're familiar at all with Dave Ramsey. So we have our down payment ready to go, and then a little extra so that we could just move to Hawaii. I definitely don't want you to hear me saying to live a slow-paced life, you have to up and move to Hawaii or move to some exotic rural location. You guys know I started this channel and we were living in a 408 square foot house in the middle of the city. Yes, we were close to the beach, but we didn't have a yard. I never showed it because I didn't really want to give away exactly where we lived on the internet, but we had neighbors that I could literally reach out our windows and touch their houses, and lived right on like a main busy, basically highway, just the epitome of not a slow pace place. But that didn't matter. Like within our home, within the place that I could, that we could control, we get to set the rules. So even if you live in an apartment, in a, high rise, or you don't have a yard at all, or you don't even have a balcony for houseplants, like it doesn't matter. Like you can definitely embrace the values of just living within your own personal values and not worrying so much about what the world says you should do or have or buy, or keeping up with the Joneses. You can rest in that. You can give yourself grace. You don't have to constantly be going or be busy just to distract yourself and numb yourself. Anyone that's seen like slow living influencers on the internet, typically they're like on a countryside, somewhere extremely rural, and that's amazing. But I just think most of us can't, for whatever reason, do that today. Maybe it's a long-term goal doing that someday, but also if for whatever reason you decide that the city is a place that you enjoy, you can definitely do that wherever you are. You don't have to fantasize about what life would be like if you moved to some tropical island. Like, I just want you to know that we have all the same struggles with the stress and chaos of just raising 2 small kids, and the mundane things that come with just being people, doing laundry. Like I had to move a pile of laundry off of here so that I could film this video, like just normal life things. They all came with us. So I felt like I needed to say that. Samantha Goodall, I want to answer your other questions. Okay, she says, first of all, I absolutely love your videos. Look forward to them every week. Samantha, dude, you're so nice. I would love to know what made you start YouTube, as I consider it myself. Do you plan to have any more babies? Can you do a home tour in the new house that you're in now? Oh, I never answered that other question about what home we're in now, did I? Yeah, so that was an Airbnb that was absolutely beautiful, and I was just so inspired by that space. So yeah, that ain't our house. And like, just because this is our friend's house, I feel weird about doing a house tour because it's their home. I don't know. I want to like respect their privacy too. So, but I love the house tours. You can definitely expect more house tours from me in the future. I think our homes say a lot about who we are and what's important to us. And I like watching house tours. So yeah, be on the lookout for more house tours from me in the future. But yes, y'all are noticers. We are not in that same house, but we are still in Hawaii. And then about YouTube, I just felt convicted of it. I don't know how else to describe it. I did this Bible study with my friend Christy Faye, who has written a couple great Bible studies that are, I think, available on Amazon. I'll look. If they are, I'll link them. It was called I Have To. Anyway, it was about like finding that thing that God puts on your heart that you just like have to do. And maybe you're gonna laugh at me, I don't know. But for me, I got to the end of that Bible study and I was like, gosh, I have to start a YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about. Very quickly after I realized that, I was like, oh, I know what I'm gonna talk about. It's so important to me that in our culture, in our day and age, and just our society as women and mothers that we are being intentional about our things and the way in which we live our lives. So there. And I just think if you know, like, you have to do something, like, just not doing it, not starting, is just like putting off the inevitable. So my advice to you would be just start. Samantha, you have great hair, so you already have that going for you. This makes me want to cut my hair short. It's so cute. And then, do you plan to have any more babies? Should I say this on the internet? I don't know. Yeah, I love babies. I love birth. Maybe I'll just leave it at that. Okay, speaking of kids, Rachel Smith says, I love your channel. Rachel, thank you. I love you. Would love to know more about homeschooling. Yes, yes, yes. Resources you use. Okay, Rachel didn't say that. I got excited. How long do you plan to homeschool them? Anything of that nature? Oh, yes, Rachel. I am so passionate about homeschooling. Resources for homeschooling that I would recommend are probably going to be things that you maybe weren't expecting. Number 1, Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto. Dude, it is no chill, but it is the best. If you're like on the fence about homeschooling, you're gonna read this and be like, nope, here I go. Compulsory schooling is accomplishing little but to teach young people to follow orders in the industrial machine. He became a fierce advocate for families and young people taking back education and learning, arguing that genius is as common as dirt, but that conventional schooling is driving out the natural curiosity and problem-solving skills that we're born with and replacing with rule-following, fragmented time, and disillusionment. Preach to me, John. Preach to me. Now, in an ever more rapidly changing world with an explosion of alternative routes to learning, it's poised to continue to shake the world of institutional education for many more years. Talk about an education reformist. So that is my number 1 recommendation. I also really love Julie Bogart. Julie Bogart, here she is. Julie Bogart, The Brave Learner, Finding Everyday Magic in Homeschooling, Learning, and Life. I've actually never read that book, but I have listened to tons of podcasts with Julie Bogart over the years because my mom actually homeschooled my brother and I after we attended public school and private school. We were homeschooled. Okay, one of my favorite quotes ever as far as like children and homeschooling goes is from Julie Bogart, and I think it was just in a podcast, but I wrote it down. I look at it all the time, and that is to be more committed to your child and your philosophy. Because there's 1,000,002 different ways to homeschool, philosophies for homeschooling, philosophies for parenting. For me, for homeschooling, following my kids' lead. Like my daughter, for instance, right now is really interested in taking a tap class and learning about mushroom foraging. And so I'm gonna sign her up for a class for that, and I'm gonna get all the books that I can find about those things, and we're gonna read them, and if she loses interest next week, I will donate them. Just following their lead and not being so worried with keeping up with certain standards that the education system says my kids should spend their time doing. This video is going really long and I have a lot more questions, so I think we'll just have to do a part 2, but I want to get to this one last question. Several of you asked me about my hair and my hair care routine, so I thought that we'd finish up by me talking a little bit about that. My hair care routine is just that I don't have one, pretty much. One of my things this year is to like take better care of my hair. It's always slightly wet because it's very thick and just never really dries. Because I do cut it myself. It's looking like it needs a trim. Just the other day though, I was thinking about cutting it short because every few years I do that just to keep things spicy. It's been years now since I've colored my hair. I mean, I think that's a big reason why it's so healthy now and thick. I mean, I always wear it to one side because when I wear it all together, it just looks huge. So, I don't know how to even answer. I think the main thing that has helped my hair, because it was thinning at one point, which was kind of scary, and I was just like losing tons of hair all the time. This was back when my endometriosis was kind of, I didn't get to any of those questions. I got a ton of questions about my diet and my endometriosis and stuff. So we'll do a part 2. Basically, me changing my diet to a whole food plant-based diet is ultimately what has changed my whole health trajectory and reversed all of my health issues and made my hair grow in thick and healthy again. What was that? I had rice on my shirt the whole time? I had a bunch of rice on my shirt the whole time. Golly. Anyways, as far as my hair goes, I don't hardly wash it. I don't color it. The only thing that I do is like, I air dry my hair, and I think it gives it a lot more volume So like as it's drying, I will just constantly switch up the side that it's parted on. So like I'll let it go like this for a while, and then you see me do this sometimes, it's like a habit. I'll just like completely switch it to the other side until I get so hot, because it weighs so much that it ultimately ends up in a giant messy bun on my head, and then that's where it stays. I think that gives it some texture, because naturally my hair is very straight. And then the color comes completely from me just wearing one of those hats that has a hole in it, and then like anytime I'm in the sun my hair just sticks out, and so it gets some natural color. Every couple months I use a purple shampoo just to kind of tone out the orange, so that's why it looks probably so white on the ends, is because those pieces have been toned more by purple shampoo. Every few months I will trim it, and to do that I just go upside down with it. I gather it into like a ponytail like this, and then I brush it out really, really well and just take an inch off. Since I've changed my diet and I've stopped coloring my hair and using a flat iron on my hair every day, it has grown in and gotten a lot thicker and healthier. It feels healthier than ever. I just don't make time to do it. I have great intentions of doing cool braids with my hair, and I don't know, I just never do, which then ultimately makes me think like I should just chop my hair off. That would be so much easier. I think that's gonna do it for this Q&A. We'll have to do a part 2, and I will get to the rest of them. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next week in my next one.